Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about how to use the templates that I designed in order to put them on your cup to create a beautiful pattern on your tumbler. So this is what you're going to get. The sheet's going to look like this, and I like to print it out on cardstock just because I can use it over and over again, and it's just a little bit more sturdy for me to use. So this one is called the bunny tail template, and we're going to create this onto my metal hog 20-ounce skinny tumbler. So I've got it printed already, and now we are ready to get started. Each template will come with what size cup to use. So this particular template says it's for a 20-ounce skinny using SS20 stones. So this template's made for this cup specifically. It will fit all the way around it, and it should be seamless. Now at the end of each row you may come along and you may have to add one stone or take away one stone. Kind of depends on what cup you're using, what brand it is. I use the Hog brand. So when I designed the template, it's designed to fit this one perfectly. It's okay to have to remove or add a stone at the end of each row, and I will show you the easiest way to do that. This cup has already been sanded and wiped down with alcohol. I use 180 grit sandpaper, and then I wipe it down with alcohol and a coffee filter or paper towel. So on every single template, it's going to show you what colors are in each template. We're going to start with the top baseline when we get started. We're going to work our way all the way down to the bottom. It's so important to keep this top line very, very straight, because that's your baseline, and that's going to determine how straight each line is underneath that until you get all the way to the bottom. Your goal is to be at the bottom row and have a very straight line to finish up your cup. So we're going to start here. I'm going to put a small amount of glue, which is typically what I use, the same amount throughout the whole cup. But if you get too much on this top row, the stones tend to wiggle around a little bit more. And so just get your line on there. I like to work in about 2-inch sections. I've got all my stones out here, and every template does have recommended colors. You can feel free to change up the colors if you want to. You just have to kind of keep track and stay consistent throughout the design if you are going to change colors. So I'm going to start here with my pink. I'm going to start at the top left corner of the template right there. You can start wherever you want to. I have to work left to right because that's just how I work. And then we're just going to follow along whatever color stones it says to put in. So we have a pink, and then we have 3 white stones. We know, see, we have to go with the peridot next, and we're going to add 2 peridot stones. And then next we have 3 white stones. And we're going to follow this template all the way around the top edge of this cup. Like I said, you can change colors. You just have to make sure that you stay consistent. So if you wanted all these flowers to be one color, you can totally change that up and do it however you want to do it. Now, as far as your base goes, I started this on a white based cup. Now, if you are doing a design with a darker based cup, you can definitely spray paint your cup. You know, use whatever technique works for you as far as painting your cup and sealing it. I would definitely recommend sanding it, no matter which one you do. That way it helps your stones stick a little bit better to the cup. So if you're going to spray paint it, I would recommend either the 2x Rust-Oleum paint or the color shot paint. That's what I normally use. But I'd always go over it with the 2x clear just to seal that paint really good, and then go ahead and give that a light sand. It's just always important to sand your cup. It's going to be the difference between the stones staying on a long time or them staying on a very long time. So I always just take that extra measure to sand, and I usually sand a little bit extra around the rim and around that bottom, because we use these in our cup holders and they can come loose after some time. So that extra little bit of sanding definitely helps, but definitely sand your whole entire cup. We're just going to work right along here, like I said, about 1 or 2 inch sections, just paying attention to what colors are coming up next and adding those colors. On this one, I am using white AB as the background, the main color. I just wanted that extra little pop. So I like to use AB stones every now and then when I want that extra little shimmer or shine to the cup. Now I'm just going to keep on moving right along here until I get my baseline on. Once I get all the way around this, then I can show you how I make sure these stones are all nice and level. There's a couple different techniques you can use for this. I use my little Lazy Susan there in the top left corner, just to make it easier for me to get my stones settled down to where they need to be. Once they are, they're going to be perfectly straight for me to begin on my next row. So we're coming up here on the end of the first row. Just going to follow it right along the top of the worksheet there. We're going to end up with this pink flower. You can kind of follow along your pattern as well. Makes it kind of fun to do it that way. So there's the pink stone, and it should end up with that pink stone from the beginning to the end, and everything should line up perfectly. And put this last pink stone on here, and there you have your baseline. Okay, it kind of looks straight, but once you do this technique, you'll get it a lot more straight. Now go ahead and find a flat surface, and this is why you don't want to use too much glue, because the glue might stick to your surface as you're doing this, and you don't want that to happen. It will pull stones off. So just start pressing down your stones so that they're touching the surface that you're working with, and that's going to get that whole line really nice and straight. That's the most important thing about this whole process. This is the honeycomb method, and you want your stones to be perfectly straight in that top baseline, because that's really going to determine how this cup ends up looking when you get to the bottom line. So we're just going to push those all the way down, get them nice and straight. Now you have a really good baseline. We're going to let this sit for about a half hour. I use liquid fusion, so it takes about a half hour to let it sit, because I want those to be nice and in place before I start on the second row. Because on the second row, I'm going to be pushing up against the first row, and we don't want any movement to happen. So after about a half hour or so, we're going to come back to this, and we're going to begin our second row, and we're just going to follow right along the guide and get the second row done, and then we'll do another row, and then you'll kind of start to see the pattern coming to life a little bit more. So this has dried for 20 minutes. We're going to go ahead and carry on and continue to row number 2. So what you want to do is on your row number 2, when you get started, we're going to continue to follow the pattern. So here, now I know that I started with 2, so I know where I started. So what I'm going to do is find this. So there's 2 here and there's 2 here. So I'm going to go ahead and start my second row, because I know this is going to be a flower here. That's the edge of a flower. So I'm going to start there. That makes more sense to me, but you can do it however you want to do it. So when you put the next stone on, and this is going to have green in the middle, so we're we're going to put green in the middle. And then we're going to go with pink. And then 2 whites. I'll have to change that on my template too, because this one right here should be green. And then we're going to go 2 whites. Then I know this is going to be the petals of the flower, so I automatically know, without even looking at my chart, that that's going to be green. And the green ones have a lavender stone in the middle. And as you're putting these on, you want to make sure you're pushing this stone up onto the shoulders of the 2 above it. So that's where it should be resting very tightly. That's why it's so important to walk away and let this first line dry. And I usually like to use my pencil and kind of push the stones up as I'm working. So yeah, the closer you have them to that top row, keeping them there, that's very important for once you get down to the bottom. You'll see how even you will be. So we've got the purple, the green. Now we need 2 white, because we're just going to follow along line by line. We're not going to worry about anything below this. I know that's going to be orange just because I'm completing a flower here. I know the orange has pink in the middle. And then I'm going to do 2 white. Then I'm coming up on a purple, an orange, a purple. Green. Just remember as you go that you're pushing up on them stones, just to keep them all. Just like to give them a little tap with my wax pencil. Okay, stay up in there. You will come out with a very nice straight line at the bottom. So I did pink. I'm on row number 2. I'm going to do 2 whites. push all these up again. That's row number 3. The more you do this, the more you ensure that that is going to end up in a nice straight row at the bottom of your cup. I cannot stress this enough. So this row is going to be primarily white, but then I'm going to have 2 tips of the bunny ears here. More white, and so I'm going to have 3 stones in this one that are not white. So I'm just going to have to pay attention. So what I would do is I would start where one of these tips are for my starting point. So I would actually start with, I would probably start with the white one here. Well, no, I'll start with the white one in the middle of this. I'll go diagonal to this flower right here, and I'll start here, because if I ever had to add or remove a stone, I'm going to be able to do that in a spot where it's not going to matter or be really noticed. So we got 3 rows. So you're going to continue all the way down your cup until you get to the bottom. Now, if you get to the bottom and you want to stop before the row stops here, you can. You can stop your row and just stop it where you want to if you think it goes down too far. But I'm just sitting here just so in case I want to add anything else to this. It's a pretty cup, beautiful design. So you can do it this way. Just the main thing is to make sure that you come back and push those stones up just a little bit to make sure that they are. You can do it that way, you can do it this way, and check each one if you want to. For me, it's easier to do it this way. So that's it on this. So when you're done, depending on what glue you use, let it dry and then give it a good scrub, and you should be good. Now, if you didn't want to go this route here and you didn't want to use the template, you can have it sublimated on the cup for you. So whether you do this technique here with the design, or buy the cup with it on it, or sub it yourself, you're going to come out with the same end result. Whichever technique you use, you're going to have the same end result.